insane. He's a control freak. So, what's your point? It's the Monty Man at Take12Radio.com on your internet dial.
The views expressed on the following broadcasts do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guest. Take 12 Radio and KHLT Recovery Broadcasting are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
Here we go.
If you're trying to find a way out of a hole,
Well, this is the place.
have a laugh and save your soul.
This is the place.
Don't have to put your allegiance or stand in line. No ticket to buy.
No papers to sign.
Found it.
That's right.
This is the place.
Welcome to the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. This is the place for experience, strength, and hope. Broadcasting to you from the studios of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting on the outskirts of beautiful downtown Albany, Oregon. Get ready. Powerful show today.
Just don't drink. Walk if you're ready. This is the place.
And now that COVID is kind of past, this is the place where we wear no masks.
I am who I am, not part of the past. Get a little taste of saving grace.
Welcome to the human race. Ow! Come on in now. This is the place. That's right, my friends. Welcome to another fine episode of the world's original and oldest recovery talk and positive music radio station and podcast, Take 12 Recovery Radio. We're broadcasting to you worldwide on all major podcasting platforms. If you'd like to visit us on YouTube, simply visit youtube.com/Monty Meyer, MontyMeyer. Our shows are available for fun and for free. Today, the topic is The Lie is Dead. We do recover. So what is the lie? Well, if you look in the basic text of Narcotics Anonymous, you will find a piece that states something to the effect of that tired old lie, once an addict, always an addict, will no longer be tolerated by society or the addict himself. The lie is dead. We do recover. So what's the lie? The lie is once an addict, always an addict. The lie is that we don't recover, that we're always in recovery. And that's the lie. And I know that's a controversial issue, recovered or recovering. The fact is, within the 12-step world, if you have not had a spiritual awakening as a result of those steps, then you are in recovery. Once you've had a spiritual awakening as a result of the steps, and the obsession to use, or in the case of AA, to drink, has been lifted, has been removed from a power greater than you, then you have entered into the realm of recovered. What does that mean? There's a difference between recovered and cured. Cured means that you no longer have an issue biologically, spiritually, or mentally with the substance. No issue whatsoever. In other words, in the case of an alcoholic who would be cured, that would almost suggest that he could pick up a drink again. That's not the case. In my case, I am an alcoholic. It is simply a medical term that means I'm allergic to booze. That's all that is. It's not where my identity lies. It's not what defines me. It just means I have a medical condition where I can't put alcohol in my system. And when I do, I release the obsession all over again, the obsession to not be able to control my drinking. And so once the obsession has been removed, and in this case, we believe by a power greater than ourselves, that one is God. Once that has been removed, then we have recovered. Is that a setup for going out and relapsing? I don't think so. I think that's good news. If you haven't had the obsession removed, then you're still in recovery, and that's okay. Everybody's journey is a little different. Well, today on the show, we have, right in the studio right now, we have 3 people, and I'm going to swing the camera over. Went the wrong direction there. There's Ashley there, and she's here for moral support for Collin, who's sitting next to her.
That's so funny.
And next to him is Jarren. Now, Collin and Jarren have an interesting relationship because they are friends and brothers in Christ who have completed a 12-month faith-based residential program called Adult and Teen Challenge. Not the easiest program in the world. True, guys?
Yeah. Not easy.
No.
It's a challenge.
But while you were there, you both had an opportunity to not only learn about the addict brain and addictive behaviors and alcoholism and drug addiction, but also and primarily to focus on the solution.
Yes.
Right? And we have a lot of programs out there that understand the problem of addiction very well, but don't understand the solution. The solution is only suggested. Yeah. It's like, okay, once you leave here, then we suggest that you go out and develop a relationship with a power greater than yourself. And that's where they leave it. At Adult and Teen Challenge, the main focus is on developing that relationship. And in this case, with God and with Jesus Christ, who we believe is the God who is God. And so the focus is so much more on the solution than the problem. But in order to understand the solution, we need to understand the problem, and vice versa. And so these gentlemen, I'm very honored to have them on the show. They're not only past students of that program, but they're also dear friends of mine who I have a lot of respect for and love deeply. And so, Ashley, thank you for coming and supporting this character here.
Absolutely, man.
So and Collin's here to support Jarren. Jarren's supporting me, and
that's what we do.
That's what we do.
It's a package deal. So.
Right. Yeah. One of the things we like to do here, though, at the beginning of the shows, is to have a little fun with something.
And now it's time for the Monty Man's Weekly Wine. Because he always has something to whine about.
Stop crying.
Okay.
sounds like Jarren.
Yeah, doesn't it? Sounds like quite a few people we know. Okay, so I like to whine about things that I have absolutely no power over. That takes the power out of it. Right.
Everything pretty much.
And the mistake that the world of media made was to give me a microphone anyway. But my weekly wine for this show, those seals that are on like vitamin bottles, peanut butter.
Oh, yeah.
This little seal, right? Yeah. Right. What happened to the little tab? There used to be a little tab on the edge.
Trying to cut costs.
That you really right? Are the tabs on a boat somewhere stuck at dock? With all the other products.
They still have the tabs on almond milk.
Do they?
Oh yeah.
This is the one item you get.
I love almond milk.
You gotta start getting almond milk.
Are you guys talking about that little plastic piece?
Because like on peanut butter, for instance, you've got that cardboard seal.
You have to puncture it.
Right. And then there was a little tab that you peeled it back. And the tab's gone. Or it's so small that you can't. And us old guys who have neuropathy in our finger, we can't feel it anyway. Yeah. Right. So now you got to go hunt for the steak knife and got to chop that stupid thing up and the little pieces of cardboard.
The gallons of milk. This is a nightmare. You have to go get a fork or something and puncture it.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but almond milk, they do. It does have that. I do drink almond milk.
Yeah.
Because regular milk is terrible for you. But that's another. Is there milk in my coffee?
I would have to disagree with that.
Well, you have your right to be wrong.
We can agree to disagree on that.
Sure. Well, did you know milk is the hardest food to digest for the human body to digest?
I bet, especially if you eat some pozole.
What is that?
It's a Mexican. It's like a soup, but it's really spicy, so it curdles the milk in your stomach.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely.
Collin, what he's saying is you have the copyrights to your distorted thoughts.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And as humans, we're the
Gotcha.
only creatures that drink milk after we're
Yeah.
babies.
Oh, yeah.
That's nuts,
Yeah.
right? But I don't know. I drink unsweetened almond milk. I put it in my protein
same.
powder or in my.
It's all about that unsweetened.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, so my wine is where did the tab go? Somebody let me know, would you please? If he does anything at all right, can't the president bring the tab back?
The tab.
At least that.
Wow.
I mean,
Or
come
tab
on.
soda.
Come on, Joe.
Maybe tab soda.
Tab
Bring
soda.
What about tab soda?
Hashtag bring back the tab.
There it is.
There we go, going viral.
There it is.
All right.
TikTok.
If you got something to whine about that you're powerless over, go ahead and email me at take12radio@comcast.net. All right, we'll be right back. We're going to be talking and sharing the experience, strength, and hope of these two characters, Collin and Jarren.
Did you bring it with you?
Huh?
Did you bring it with you?
No,
His experience, strength, and hope?
No, my character, I left it in the car.
We'll go get it on break.
Oh, wait a minute. Before we do that, I got two books I want to tell you about real quickly. This is something I'm going to be doing more of. The first one is called The Language of the Heart. There we go. These are the grapevine writings of AA's co-founder Bill W. And starting next week, probably posted on Fridays, Chris S., who did the series Walking Through the Big Book with me and Walking Through the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, two workshops that have been a huge success. We haven't worked together in a long time, so Chris and I teamed up again, and we're going through the language of the heart. And the show is called Walking Through the Language of the Heart. And we're going to be reading the letters from this book from Bill Wilson. And so that's exciting. So if you want to follow along with that, you can download this on Amazon on Kindle, or you can just go ahead and purchase it. It's not very expensive, but it's going to be a great show. The other thing I want to tell you about is a book that I highly recommend. It's called Kundalini Warning: Are False Spirits Invading the Church by Andrew Strom. This is all about the New Apostolic Reformation and what I consider the fleecing of the church by the Bethel movement and God TV and some of these other organizations that are teaching the practice of following signs and wonders and not Jesus. And this is the best book I've ever read on exposing that stuff. It's not to character and assassinate anybody. It's just to shed some light on the fact that in Scripture it does talk about in the last days there will be false teachers. And you need to be aware of that. And they need to be very open-minded to this. Please get the book, Kundalini Warning. You can also get that on Amazon as well. Okay, when we come back, Collin and Jarren's experience, strength, and hope. Don't go away. Check it out.
It's up to you, it's what you do, that's the truth I know. Oh, say yes. Oh.
You're listening to the world's original recovery talk and positive music radio program, the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show on KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Yes, alive. Say yes, alive. Say yes, alive.
Hey there, it's the Monty Man here. Ever wonder if there is more to your recovery than abstinence? Do you feel stuck in your recovery? Well, introducing 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety by popular recovery author Dr. Alan Berger. Recently, I asked Dr. Berger this question: what is one of the main things that you hope people will absorb by reading this book, 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety?
Well, I hope what people are going to get in reading the book is, first of all, excited about the possibilities, because that's the great thing about emotional sobriety, is that it opens up so many doors to our life. It opens up a whole new consciousness. So instead of taking things personally, if we don't take things personally, we can really start to get to know the other person. We can start to understand who they are and see what's going on with them, instead of thinking what they're doing is a reflection of how they feel about me. Now, instead of focusing on life being different, or people being different, or circumstances being different, we try to figure out, what do I need to do to learn how to cope with what's going on better?
In Dr. Berger's new book, you will learn the therapeutic value of self-awareness and recover your true self as you experience emotional sobriety. For your autographed copy of 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety, visit www.abphd.com. Also available on Amazon.
Nothing changes if nothing changes.
This is Tony Morosi from the recovery band Self-Esteem, and we're listening to the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show with the Monty Man on KHLT Broadcasting.
Welcome back to the show. That is Glass Harp. Back in the early 70s, one of the first Phil Keaggy bands. And that is their song, One Day at a Time. That is going to be the theme song to the new show, Walking Through the Language of the Heart, that I mentioned earlier. Indeed. Phil Keaggy. Have you ever heard Phil Keaggy?
I have not.
Oh my gosh, dude! You've got to just YouTube him. One of the most phenomenal guitarists. I don't know that this is actually true, but you know how stories go. But there was a story years ago that on Johnny Carson, Jimi Hendrix was asked what it's like to be the best guitar player in the world, and he said, "I don't know. Ask Phil Keaggy." and I don't even know if that's one of those urban legends or not, but yeah, quite frankly, probably the best guitarist in the world, and just loves God and yeah, just tremendous stuff. All right, The Lie is Dead. We do recover, and you guys have a story. So, who wants to go first and to dare answer a few questions that I have for you?
I'll go first.
Okay, Jarren. Okay, so there's Jarren. All right. Jarren, you're looking pretty healthy. You're driving a Beamer. You know, you're living in a sober living environment. You're being accountable. You're doing well. You've got a job that is absolutely killing you physically.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Right. But you're employed. You have a relationship with the Lord, you know, but things weren't always that way.
No.
Right? What was going on, man?
Geez. So for the last couple years, like I've been battling an addiction with fentanyl. And then before that, for like 7-8 years, it was opioids and benzodiazepines and stuff like that. In and out of jail, 7 different treatment centers. I started my first treatment center when I was like 15, and then the last one I went to obviously was the Dawn Teen Challenge, which is where I met Collin.
Yeah.
And life was just out of hand, man. Like I had mental health issues, to be honest, you know what I mean, without lying to anybody or anything like that. I had mental health issues, but I didn't really know it at the time. For one, I didn't know how to process it, you know what I mean? I didn't even know what was wrong. I just knew that I didn't feel good, and I didn't like who I was, you know what I mean? I was anxious, I was depressed, A through Z, and so I started to use because I liked who I was when I was using. Like when I was high, I felt normal, you know what I mean? And so using, you know, self-medicating to cope with my mental health issues was great. But then over time, after you're, self-medicating, you also build a chemical dependency, which is where the addiction really started to lie in.
So for you, it wasn't so much about the party as it was just feeling comfortable in your own skin?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you use a lot alone?
Oh, yeah. Constantly alone.
Right.
I'd always use alone.
So you weren't the guy that was showing up at the party 3 sheets to the wind and...
I also was that guy.
Oh, you also were?
Yeah, I was that guy too. But like before I went to the party or any functions, kickbacks, birthday parties, family, anything, like I would use first and then I would go because I would feel normal or confident or, less anxious.
So you had to take care of business before you even got there.
Oh, yeah.
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 See, I would do that too, but I would do it for the purpose of I'm afraid I'm not going to get enough, so I got to start early.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
What is it? The pregame.
Yeah, the pregame.
Right. Pregame warm up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so you're dealing with co-occurring mental health issues. Obviously, self-esteem is out the window.
Oh yeah.
When you say, to feel normal. You did it to feel normal. What does that mean? I mean, did you feel like you were more of a person or that you fit in with the rest of the world? Or was it just you didn't care and so it didn't matter?
At the time, like, I really just didn't care. Like when I started using, like, I didn't care, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't care what anybody thought or what was going on. I didn't think about my future. I never thought about my future. I was thinking, like, 24 hours at a time. Like, what am I going to be doing tomorrow? Who am I going to hang out with? Where am I going to use, you know what I mean? What I'm going to use, how I'm going to get the money to use, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
All those things. And so it just created a nasty downhill spiral.
So you're thinking what was the obsession was, how am I going to get my next fix so I can continue this feeling of being normal, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you didn't have much of a future. It was definitely a one day at a time venture.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, day by day.
Right.
Hour by hour, to be honest with you.
No goals, really,
No,
other than
absolutely
where to
not.
get the next hit, right?
Yeah, where I'm going to get the next bag and who I'm going to hang out with.
Yeah.
And
Did you ever run into trouble with other addicts as far as like, conflicts?
Define that.
I mean, were you a guy that ripped people off? Did people rip you off?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to give any names.
Yeah, no, I definitely won't give any names or anything. Yeah.
Told you we were doing the 4-step.
Right.
Yeah, I did all that. I've ripped people off. I've robbed people. I've gone as far to robbing my own family, their houses. Just crazy stuff.
Right. So what did that do to contribute to the destruction of the relationships with friends and family?
Well, the relationships I had with like my family, they weren't the greatest, obviously, because everybody knew that I was using, and they, when I would use, I would do crazy stuff. You know what I mean? I wasn't the actual Jarren. And so they were, a lot of them were kind of distant, you know what I mean? They showed love, but, from afar. The conversations were pretty, I don't know, what's the word for it? Short, you know what I mean? Like,
pretty
hey,
surface.
Right, you know what I mean? Just like,
Superficial.
hitting the surface, not, like getting into the middle or the bottom or anything, because everybody knew what was up, but, you know what I mean? Nobody really knew how to help.
Did anybody confront you?
About like my using? Yeah, like my parents did multiple times, you know what I mean? And they did their best, you know what I mean? They got advice from people, and their advice was to put me in a treatment center. And at the time I was like 15, so I went to my first treatment center at age 15 for like 4 months out in Baker City. And that was, I won't lie, that was kind of traumatizing, because like I said, I'm like 15 years old and I'm being taken 6.5 hours away.
Middle of the desert.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. With, you know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't good.
So did that cause resentment in you? Were you pretty ticked off at mom and dad?
I was for a while, but as I grew older, you know what I mean? I realized that the only person I could be mad at is myself, man. They were just trying to help. you can't help an addict unless the addict wants to help themselves. You know what I mean? You can't push a boulder uphill. You know, you can lead someone to water, but you can't make them drink.
Right. So how did you end up in a faith-based program like Adult and Teen Challenge? Was there a specific incident or?
Yeah. So last year, let's see, January, February, March. And about March, the end of March, I got caught trying to sell a gun and some fentanyl pills, right? And I ended up, I know, right?
What a good little addict.
Can we dive into that story a little bit? Dive into detail. I love you, bro.
Our number here is 1-800 Jarren.
Right? 1-800 Jarren, give me a call. I'm here Monday through Friday all week. So anyway, I ended up going to jail, right? And then I got matrixed out because of the COVID stuff. And then I went and see my lawyer, and he was like, you can be looking at easy like 60 months, you know, like 5 years in prison. And I wasn't trying to go to prison, you know what I mean? And the time added up, and like I got placed pretty high on the grid because I have person-to-person crimes. And so I asked him, I was like, well, honestly, man, I was like, I need help. I was like, I really do have a drug addiction. My lawyer himself was a alcoholic, and he had like 30 years clean, and his son was a heroin addict. So he understood, you know what I mean? He felt, he felt for me.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, I was like, so do you think if I go to treatment, obviously because I need the help, but do you think it would ease the judge's mind a little bit and not, throw me in jail? Because that's not where I need to go. Because if I go to jail, I'm just going to learn how to become a better criminal. And,
very true.
Right.
Stay stuck in the problem.
Absolutely.
Rather than working towards a solution.
Yeah, I'm going to get out with like a lot more knowledge of how to do not,
Right.
pro-social stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
And so anyway, so I went down to this treatment center I had been in before in Portland, and I waited outside in line from like 5 to like 6:30 in the morning or whatever to get in. You had to wait outside to get into the detox. And they
DePaul?
DePaul.
Okay.
Yeah. And they let 3 people in, and I was the 4th person. And I just didn't know what to do. Anyway, long story short, my mom has a friend, and her son went through the program with Troy, actually.
Oh, wow.
And so my mom made a call to her friend, and her friend told my mom about the program and gave her Brandon's number and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was pretty much homeless, you know what I mean? Like, they were like, you can stay here at this house for a couple days, but then you got to go to treatment, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, or you're going to go to prison. And I was like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, I had nowhere else to go. I had nothing else to do. And I was so far, I had hit rock bottom so hard, like nothing mattered, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't go any lower, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I was there. It was really bad. And I ended up getting the ride all the way down there, and that's how I got the Teen Challenge.
So it's funny because everybody will know it now because I'm going to say it. But when I was education coordinator there, one of the things that I would do often when I heard the name of an incoming student was I would look him up on Facebook. Right? Because I want to check this guy out. I want to see what's going down.
That
right?
was such a trip.
Doing his research.
Yeah. And so when Jarren and I first met, I said, so they call you youngster, huh? And he's like, what?
What?
Yeah.
I was so sketched out because like that's what my nickname was, and I had it on Facebook too. And I get there, and this dude's like, "What's up, youngster?" I was like,
he's all paranoid.
I'm all, you're a cop, huh, dude?
Man.
Oh, that's great. That's so great. Okay, so while you were in the Adult Teen Challenge program, you I mean, just like every student does, right? There's guys that are there for in any treatment program or any residential program or any outpatient program or drug court or whatever. You can have people there for the right reasons, people there for the wrong reasons, people there that don't know what the reasons. Some are there for the wrong reasons, and then they end up being there for the right reasons, and things
Sometimes
change.
you just got to get them in the door.
You just got to get them in the door.
Right. Get them a chance.
And so, you hit a couple of walls while you were in there. Everybody does. I don't know anybody that doesn't.
Right.
It is a hard thing to do. To, that thing that Dave Fleming always says, I think after changes everything. It's like, shut up, dude. But it's true.
Yeah.
It's really, really true. What was the hardest thing for you to deal with while you were there?
The hardest thing I had to deal with. Honestly, I think the hardest part about being in Teen Challenge is I had to really dig down and figure out who Jarren was, because like I've been using drugs since I was 13, and that's all I've known. You know what I mean? And so like over the course of 10 years or whatever, I didn't even know who Jarren was. Jarren was trying to be somebody Jarren was not. You know, I was a follower. I wasn't a leader. I'd hang out with people that were older, and they were whatever they were doing or affiliated with, I wanted to be with them. You know what I mean? In school, like elementary school and middle school, I used to get bullied. And I never fit in, you know what I mean? I was like a misfit. And so then eventually when I found this certain type of people, this group, you know what I mean? I fit in well, you know what I mean? And they showed me love. And then, of course, that escalates as you get older and older and older. And that's kind of where that went.
Yeah, yeah. So the hardest thing you had to deal with is finding and discovering who you were.
Yeah.
So do you know who you are now?
I do.
Who are you?
I'm Jarren.
Hi, Jarren.
No, I'm a follower of Christ, man. Honestly, I'm just super blessed. I'm super fortunate. I'm literally a living, walking testimony.
You are.
Yeah, I've been to so many near-death experiences, overdoses, almost everything that you could think of.
Yeah.
And here I am, man, standing before you.
So what are you doing to continue in your relationship with God and developing a healthy recovery lifestyle, right, outside of a controlled environment? You're in a little bit of a controlled environment, but not like major like before, right?
Right.
So tell us some of the things you're doing now to keep the momentum going.
So some of the stuff that I'm doing now, so when I graduated Teen Challenge, I checked myself into a clean and sober living house that was in Lebanon. You know, I'm from the Oregon City, Clackamas, Portland area, and that's where I know everybody, right? So I didn't want to do 12 months in a controlled environment and then hit the ground running right back on my stomping grounds, you know what I mean? I just didn't want to set myself up for failure. So I went to this, it's called Southside Church of Christ. They run a faith-based discipleship program there. And so what they do there, you know, they hold Bible studies, and they hold a Celebrate Recovery meeting on Wednesdays, church every Sunday. There's 2 services, morning and afternoonish. I also try to go to like an NA meeting, but there's not very many NA meetings in Lebanon, so I have to go to Albany. I also work a lot, 10-hour shifts, Monday through Friday, and then Saturdays and Sundays. I try to find people that I was either in the program with or that live at the house or that are clean and sober, obviously, and, you know, just a good support system that I can hang out with, you know what I mean? Someone that's going to make me want to go further in life and not take steps back.
So you have people in your life that have permission to call you out if they see you going sideways?
Correct, yeah.
Right? That accountability?
Correct.
I was at a conference last night called Rough Cut Men, and one of the things that they talk about is how to stand and protect yourself from the enemy of war. And in the case, what we're talking about is the enemy of our soul. And you know, the devil, and how we have allowed him, this toothless, cowardly creature, we've allowed him to have victory over our lives, and he ain't nothing. But we make him more than he is, right? But we need other men in our lives, or other women in our lives, you know, if we're a woman, and we need. You have your big group. You're like you've talked about the divisions in the military, and how you, like, if you have 70 some odd people, that's your church. If you have 10 people, that's your men's group, you know. But then your fire line, that's 2 people, right? That's where the rubber meets the road, and you have to have each other's back. And when you there's a scene in what's the Forrest Gump, where him and Bubba are sitting back to back in the middle of the war, and they have each other's back, right? They have each other's six. And he talked about how you can lean back on somebody's back and then them lean on you, and you could sit there for hours and not get cramped up, not get tired. I mean, for hours, because you have each other's back. And that's the kind of accountability we need as people in recovery. And I will go so far as to say that's the kind of accountability we need, period.
Oh, right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Just in life is people that we can count on that know everything about us and they're not running away.
Yep. Exactly.
There's a lot of these principles, tools from recovery that anybody could use them. That's the thing about it. It's like it's not just for people who are struggling with some sort of mind or mood altering chemicals or some sort of whatever,
Because there are no normies, are there, Collin?
No,
not really.
Not that. I mean, normals is setting on a washing machine.
Yeah. All right, so let's shift over to Collin. Pull your mic down just a little bit. There you go. So, Collin.
Hi.
You're sitting here looking bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and there is. You raise me up.
What do you do? What do I do with my hand?
What do I do with my hand? You were kind of a mess.
No, actually, quite the contrary. I came in here on a winning streak, unlike most people. You know what I mean?
Life is grand.
I won a jackpot at Sherry's and just figured I'd just.
You woke up one day and said, "You know what I want to do? I want to go to a residential program for a year. I'm so excited.
Can I go to a year-long faith-based program?"
You got a one-way ticket for free.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me just say this, and then I'll let you have it. I remember the day you came in. There was 3 of you guys.
I don't remember that day.
Oh, yes, you do. And this was the Peter James, Peter James and John scenario, right? And here these guys are, and they're like, all 3 of them are like, man, Jesus is great, and we're gonna power through, and blah 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 blah, and the Sons of Thunder, and I mean the whole 9 yards,
We thought we were the dudes, yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Make way.
Yeah.
You completed. The other 2 did not.
Yeah.
Yeah. For whatever reason, but the deal of it is, you came in and you weren't really singing the blues, but
I was broken.
You were broken, right?
I was broken.
And you were ready.
I like to say that God gave me the gift of desperation this time around.
Yeah.
And I was just done.
So what was going on prior to that? What was your mess like?
Man, God. So I've been homeless for about the last 8 years, off and on. I had a prior time. Should I go back to the beginning? So originally I got clean and sober the first time when I was 17 years old, and I ended up making it to 15 and a half years before ultimately relapsing. Where I went wrong the first time was I didn't have a relationship with a higher power. They tell you in the program to get a higher power, but they don't emphasize on how important it is anymore. You know what I mean? There's like a disconnect.
It's like that's part of the program.
It's part of it.
Instead of it is the program.
It is the program. Yeah. That's what I think the focus is lost on is really like they try and make it politically correct to get everybody in the doors so that we can at least get the opportunity to speak some life into them. But I think the disconnect there is that the entire program is based on creating a relationship with a power that can save your life. So that is, like you're saying, the solution to the problem. It's not just part of the solution. It is the solution, that relationship. So my life was absolutely miserable. I mean, I was out there in my addiction, broken, homeless, living on the streets, breaking into cars, just trying to make it by, and I was willing to do pretty much whatever, like from taking pop cans to, recycle them to, doing crimes or whatever, so, I mean, I was miserable.
What kind of substances were you abusing?
Pretty much everything, but I was addicted to heroin and meth.
Okay. Yeah. Were you getting skinny?
I mean, yeah, I'm always skinny.
Were you?
But
were you at a place? Did you get to a place like Jarren where you were just using to feel normal? Or get well?
It was like, so yeah, pretty much get well. Like I had to have it in order to function. So I'd wake up in the morning or come to whatever.
Right.
And I, if I didn't have it, then I'd need to find a way to get it quick because you get feeling miserable pretty quick. And a lot of times I wouldn't even go to sleep because I was just seeking, So yeah, I mean, it was.
Now you had a spiritual encounter.
Yes. Yeah.
That involved a
Life-changing.
lady.
Yeah.
Right. That I actually balked at when you first told me about it.
Yeah. And that's okay. I understand.
But later, I wasn't balking anymore.
No.
Because I saw the evidence of how God spoke to you blossom in your life.
Yeah.
And I thought that was legit.
Okay.
You want to share that? What happened there?
So, I mean, it's a really long story, and I can't go into details, obviously, because we
try
don't
to
have enough
condense
time
it.
for that.
Yeah.
It would take this goes like a Joe Rogan podcast. You know, it's real. That's cool. I'm glad you got it. I mean, for me, it was life changing. It destroyed everything that I thought I knew about religion or Christianity or God in general. You know, like the way I looked at God before. Well, I have a pentagram tattooed on my arm. I listen to death metal. I went to punk concerts and moshed and all that. You know, like that was my thing.
Was that your stuff too?
Negative.
What was your music?
I like rap.
You like rap?
Yeah.
You both are very ill.
You said very toxic.
Hey, there's some good Christian rap out there, just so you know. But so that was my
whatever, dude.
Yeah, it's out there. It's out there.
He said lines of sin still, bro. So
we won't judge you, buddy.
Yeah, we still love you, bro.
Still love you.
I'm a James Taylor dude, man.
That's okay.
Just pass me a joint and play a little guitar, dude.
Whoa, easy, bro.
Yeah, man.
That's what I was like. I was like, you sit around the campfire, let's sing Kumbaya. It's about as spiritual as I got.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when I was in my stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But no, I get it. Anyway, go ahead, continue.
Yeah. So I mean, as spiritual as I got, you know, go along that same lines is, I would run into churches and yell Satan.
Would you really?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love
used
guys
to
like
love
you.
it. It was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah. I used to wear.
Ashley, hit him.
I used to wear a shirt it was very pornographic in nature. My buddy Dave would love that I'm mentioning his shirt right now. But it had two Jesuses, and it said Jesus effing Christ on it. And
wow.
on the front of it, it had a crossed out Jesus fish. So how perfectly ironic is it that God's using me to spread the good news now,
and the
right?
Lord the whole time was going, yeah, you just wait. Just wait.
Yeah, he's just
yikes.
Just chilling. He doesn't even know what he's got in store from, man.
That's great.
He's just laughing, you know.
Yeah.
But so I was homeless in Santa Cruz, California. Had some plans to go out and break into some cars with my buddy, which, you know, it is just the fact that I was going out with a buddy and he experienced the first 3 hours of this with me is biblical in nature, right? Because to establish things in a legal sense, we need the law of the land, right? Here on this plane, we need the law of the land. The law of the land establishes it within a legal sense, where we as believers know that the Holy Spirit testifies on our behalf, so we don't need the other. We have a witness inside of us, you know.
Yeah, you bet.
And so that works for the spiritual law. But so, you know what I mean? There's all these different things that have given me confirmation because I thought I was crazy.
I thought you were crazy too. The first time you told me.
My experience was a trip. I mean, I don't even know that I've told you the whole thing. I think I kind of like breezed through it, but I mean, it takes a while to tell every detail, and a lot happened. But
sure.
I was going out with a buddy to break into cars that night. That was my plan, and God had a different plan for me. A girl who I now know was a 23-year-old schizophrenic girl. Her name is Lisa. I don't know anything else about her other than she was homeless from around that area, and I guess she does that occasionally. But she spoke truth into me and immediately broke through everything. It was like,
what'd she say?
She so I had been stuffing my feelings about making poor choices regarding my depression and chronic pain from a back injury. I had suffered a loss of a relationship, and I was brokenhearted at the time, and I ended up becoming I wasn't able to see my kids because of my choices.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all my doing, and I was broken because of it, and so she was talking to another girl, and I was thinking it was kind of funny, but what she said to me when the other girl walked away upset because she said something to her, and then she goes, I don't know why she's so upset. I'm just telling her how it is, kind of like how hard it is with you being so far away from your kids. And I was 2 states away from my kids, and I don't talk about that. I wasn't talking about that.
And she didn't know you from Adam.
I'd never seen this girl before in my life, and she said that to me, and it was like, for me, something happened. It was like when you see in the movies and you see somebody, you go around a street corner and you see somebody standing there with a sign that says the end is near, and they're looking you right in the eyes. It was like one of those type of moments where you're like, what's going on here? And my buddy even was like, what? He kind of sat forward and looked at her, looked at me, and we were kind of trying to figure out what was up. And within the first hour of talking to this girl, she had me crying, like broke through all that stuff, and it says the word of God is sharper than any two-edged swords, cutting straight through to the heart of a man, to the very thoughts and intentions. And it was that right there. There's another biblical confirmation, biblical reference in nature.
Sure.
And over the course of a 12-hour period, before the Spirit came over me, when the sun rose the next morning, I experienced a lot of different biblical principles, but they were in a single night. And what I realized after walking through my program is that they all have reference to the Bible. So I was given these little experiences so that I could reference it, so that I can have experience to pull from, because I'm going into ministry now, and I'm called to help people, and I know that now. He's put a desire in my heart, and I'm running with it, So it's just everything about it is totally ironic, and I realize that everything has to start from humility. You know what I mean? Because if we don't first recognize that where our powers and our abilities and our gifts and everything come from, if we don't recognize that first, then we're not going to be able to use them, first of all, to their effectiveness and the benefit of others.
Right.
We're going to be using them to selfish gain, and it's going to be prideful in nature. And that's why I relapsed my last time in recovery, was pride. So how perfect is it that this is my foundation? I have a foundation that's built in humility.
Yeah.
It's built upon my brokenness and his connecting me,
Jarren.
I just want to say something real quick. So, and then I'll, what I mean? I know it's your time.
You're good.
So, like, dude, how far this guy has come is so crazy. So, me and Collin, so when did you come in? I came in on the 9th of April.
I came in on the 16th.
Birthday.
Really?
16th.
Yeah.
See, it's meant to be, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Yeah.
The 16th?
16th, yeah.
Okay, so when Collin came in, we live in like a dorm setting and there's bunk beds.
Right.
His bunk bed was right next to me, right? And I was on the bottom bunk and he was on the bottom bunk, and I was laying there just laying in bed for like a couple weeks withdrawing off fentanyl, and he's laying in bed withdrawing off fentanyl, and the conversations that we were having was not Christ-like at all. At all. It was super toxic, you know what I mean?
We were qualifying.
Yeah, we were like trying to boost each other's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, for me to sit here and hear all this stuff that he's saying now is a complete 180. I mean, it doesn't.
It's a different guy.
It's
same thing. He didn't get it. You're inside yourself, but you don't realize you're doing the same thing, bro.
Listen, bro, this is about you, not me, okay? It's just crazy to see like the work that God's doing in his life. It's total different guy.
These kinds of transformations that you both have experienced and are continue to experience do not happen because there's power in meetings, because there's power in the steps, because there's power with your sponsor, or there's power with your pastor. It's because of the power that's the power.
The power,
that all those things are pointing to, right?
There's nothing I could have done that would have made any of this happen.
Yeah.
I've tried.
And to hear you, Jarren, talk about that, and to know, and I was there at one point in my life. I can imagine what the conversation was like, right? And to watch you guys, I mean, I had the honor and the privilege, and I say this, I say it with all enthusiasm. I had the honor and the privilege of watching this transformation take place in different ways for both of you individually, for a year. And it's hard to express without tearing up. It just really is, because when you see firsthand the power of God do what only the power of God can do,
amen,
right? It almost floors you.
Yeah.
It really does.
Well, you gotta let's take into consideration how effective of a tool for God that you've been in our process,
heart,
because you as an education coordinator at the program, you are like you take a personal approach to every single student. You make it a very personal deal, you know what I mean? You don't just blanket sweep across with a wide brush, the whole program. What you do is you take a very individual approach to each and every student. You give them individualized curriculum, which for me, one of the biggest things that stood out is when you were like, hey brother, I thought you might enjoy this book. There's no assignment due. You don't have any, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it just may have seemed like something small, hey, check out this book. But to me, that tells me that you truly care, you know what I mean? And so I knew in that moment, I was like, I knew you cared, but in that moment, I knew you care on a very intimate level, on an individual level. And it just, it stuck with me. So I appreciate you, Monty.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. That means the world, because when you work in this field, you wonder, gosh, am I making a difference? Yeah. And then you believe, you listen to your own ego, and then, I don't need to listen to the devil much. I listen to my own ego, and I get myself in trouble. And my ego will pull the opposite of an ego. It'll say, you're not making a difference. You're really not doing anything. Yeah. These guys aren't, they're behind your back. They're saying this and saying, and you start tripping like that. Yeah. And it doesn't take you any place but defeatism, right?
Oh yeah.
And so it's important, and I'll just say this, and I'll let you continue with your story. But it's important that the people in our lives and one of the things that Rough Cut Men was talking about last night at the conference was, we need to tell each other, hey, you're a good man, you're a good woman,
edifying.
You're a good mom, you're a good friend. What you have. There's things about you I want. Yeah. It's important that we do that with each other.
Build each other up.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
exactly. Need to build each other
exactly
up.
The words.
Yeah.
You're on point.
Yeah.
That's exactly, like we're trying to keep your conversation seasoned and edifying and to one another, build each other up in Christ, in everything, you know what I mean? And it's not about ourselves. It's about what we're doing that's positive, so that we don't focus on all negative things.
Right.
For sure. Yeah. It's important. We hear that enough from ourselves. First of all,
sure.
You know what I mean? You play the tape in my head on a regular basis. It's a nightmare. I mean, it doesn't take long before you start getting suicidal and, defeatism takes over.
Right. I hear you. What was the hardest thing for you to face while you were there in treatment?
So for me, codependency, emotional sobriety, the struggle between because I had a prior experience in recovery, and God's given me this heart of flesh where I want to help people, and He's given me this great love and compassion for people where I want to help people, but understanding that it's not my time, that the foot of the cross needs to be level playing field, because otherwise we might boast in ourselves and not in Him, and think highly of our gifts or our blessings or whatever, and it's not about that. At the foot of the cross, it's level playing field for a reason. The humility is really important. Really important.
Yeah,
because it'll get away from, especially with men. We're so competitive, like with stuff. So
and independent.
I can do it myself. I can fix anything.
Yeah. I hear you.
We're fixers.
Yeah.
Try and fix everything.
And we try to fix things that's none of our business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what are you doing? Just like I asked Jarren, what are you doing now to continue in this maturity in your relationship with God, and to keep the state of recovery that you are in fresh and new each day? What are you doing?
Well, I'm not compromising. There's a lot of stuff that I want to be doing. I want to be smoking cigarettes. I want to be, whatever.
Sure.
And I'm not. I recognize it's those little things, those little battles that I gotta face. And I'm mindful of needing the devil to flee from me. Flee, go, get behind me, Satan.
Right.
Back of the bus.
I'm establishing myself in my community. I'm establishing myself with accountability. I'm maintaining a presence as far as positivity online, and encouraging other people, and staying active and encouraging people that are struggling. I'm in constant prayer for people. I feel like I'm in communication with God all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the one thing that I've gained at the program that's probably been the most beneficial, is that I feel like I'm in the presence of God all the time. I'm able to worship. I still listen to most of the same music that I listened to when I was in the program. If you're not familiar with the program, we get K-Love and Hope Radio, and that's pretty much it.
Right, right.
You know, which is good.
And the pledge
positive,
drives.
encouraging. You know what I mean? It's good, because the renewing of the mind is a real deal. You know?
Right.
We need to renew the mind. You know, and so that's the other thing that I'm doing, is that I'm maintaining that atmosphere where I'm renewing my mind. I'm mindful of what I'm putting in, and even if the music is listed under worship music or gospel music or whatever, I'm mindful of what I'm putting in there, just because sometimes the vibe just isn't working with my spirit.
Yeah,
right,
sometimes even Christian music can be not really focused on Christ, right?
Yeah, it starts getting away from it a little bit.
More
gets
about
into the
building
feelings,
yourself
building
up
yourself
and-
up, and
yeah.
you got to feel okay. But God doesn't tell us that. You know, the
No.
Bible doesn't tell us that. It tells us that your comfort is not as important than what He's calling you to do, the tools that
Right.
He's equipping you with, and you know, so
Yeah.
it's not, you know, it's not about my being able to. I can take a breath. I'm good.
Yeah, and I think speaking to that, there's nothing wrong with songs that make you feel good about yourself.
Oh, no, not at all.
As long as you don't become dependent on that.
Yeah.
You can experience it. You can go to a Christian concert and be entertained and have a really positive entertainment experience. As long as you don't confuse that with what real worship is, right? And I think it's okay. You guys have met my son, who's a worship pastor. He was very adamant. He said, we will not be singing Christless worship songs on Sunday morning.
Yeah, feel good.
Save that for the concert at the Moda Center or whatever, right? That's great. That's fine. But when we get dependent on stuff that makes us feel good, then we're right back into addictive thinking.
Yeah, it is. It's that seeking behavior. Yeah.
Right. Right.
It's a slippery slope.
So I'm gonna go here and talk to Ashley just for a second. What do you think of this guy? Because you guys knew each other before when things weren't healthy.
Yeah. In our addictions.
Is he a different guy?
Completely. Like, it's like a night and day difference. I remember the first time I saw him after I hadn't, like the last time I saw him when we were in our addiction, and then I saw him when we were clean. It was just
totally different.
Same thing with you.
yeah. It's
Wow.
incredible.
Yeah.
And just the way he talks, the way he carries himself, the lights back in his eyes, like, yeah.
Right.
It's amazing.
How do you feel when you hear that?
It feels good. I feel like in my addiction, I felt like my heart was the same way. You know what I mean? Like my heart was there, but everything else was, you know, not really supportive of that. You know, and the whole environment isn't really conducive to any type of positive atmosphere, you know, at all. So
let me switch back to Jarren for a minute. You work in construction, right?
I do, yeah.
Is that difficult as far as the environment? I mean, construction can be a little iffy,
right?
Mm-hmm. The guys like to do what the guys like to do.
Yeah.
Is that a challenge for you?
Honestly, not really.
Yeah.
Some of the language, they'll be dropping like the GD word, you know what I mean, and like saying, "Oh Jesus." You know what I mean? And just like saying his whole name in vain. It just, you know what I mean? It's just like...
Does that kind of poke you a little bit?
It does a little bit.
Whereas before it didn't? Or?
Right. Before I was the one saying that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And now that, you know, I've been working on this personal relationship with the Lord and, you know, and hearing that stuff, you know what I mean? It makes me reflect on who I used to be. You know what I mean? And I can't really like dog these guys or shame on them because I did the same thing. And, you know, I wasn't aware of it and they aren't really aware of it either. They're not educated and have no knowledge or wisdom on actually Jesus Christ himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you can't really expect them to.
No, I can't expect anything from them. You know, I might be able to say something and try to witness to them or shed a little bit of light. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? It's going to be their decision.
Right. You bet.
You bet.
Yeah,
you did.
Absolutely.
You did.
You did. Oh, my gosh. Well, we're at the end of the show. That went quick.
That was fast.
Right?
Man.
Yeah.
Let's just bring it right back around. Jarren, let's start it again.
So let's do this again down the road.
Okay. Sounds good.
Right? Check in and kind of see what's going on, and then we can get Ashley to tell on you and things like that. Well, since we were on last time,
it's called holding him accountable.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, in a loving way. That's
right.
how we do it.
Yeah.
Details.
Okay. Closing thoughts. You first there, Collin.
Yes, sir. Closing thoughts. If you don't have a God, get one. I would assume if you're listening to the show that probably you got a God, you know. But
well, you'd be surprised how many non-believers continue to listen, and I got to believe that's totally God working.
There it is.
Right?
Their work is working on their heart, you know.
Yeah.
That's what he goes ahead and he makes a way. So we know that.
Yeah. If you don't have a God, get one.
Get one.
Yeah.
I just said that in a meeting 2 nights ago.
Right.
I'm going to meetings now too, so you know.
Yeah, so you're doing that deal. So
So I didn't do that. I didn't say that, but yeah.
Well,
I'm doing meetings again.
And so here's my little spiel for my holier than thou Christian buddies that are in recovery that don't want to go to those groups anymore. Yeah. What good is a light in a lit room?
Exactly. What
That's
good
ridiculous.
is a lamp if you put it under the bed? Or,
right.
You know, it says that we are to be lifted up on a lampstand. If we are the light, right? We
right.
need to be the light to the rest of the world. So.
Well, that meeting's toxic. Okay, what are you doing to help change that?
Exactly.
Right. You know.
Can't keep what we have unless we give it away.
Right. Jarren, closing thoughts.
Man, closing thoughts. I would just say, like, if you guys don't know the Lord, get to know him. You know, Jesus Christ he really is a savior. You know, he saved me. Like I said, me and Collin both walking testimonies in front of you every day, all day. And kind of like what you were talking about, Collin, about the heart change, you know what I mean? But thinking about something else. I remember when I came to you, I don't know if you remember, but I came to you and I asked you something. I'm like, why do all these people, you know, they preach the God stuff, you know what I mean? Jesus this, Jesus that, and they start, you know, reciting scripture and saying this and this and this, and then after the Bible study, they're out in the hall and they're bad-mouthing and they're trying to do all this other stuff. And I'm like, why is that? And you were like, because this and this are not lining up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember that struggle. I remember watching you go through that struggle.
Yeah, and that was so hard for me to just...
Yeah.
I wanted to control that so bad. You know?
I wanted to control it. That was my struggle.
I wanted to call people out so bad, but I'm just like, Lord, it's not my job.
I know, and you know what? One of the things that it's still like nails on a chalkboard with me, and God is really working on my heart on this. When people that are claim to be born again followers of Jesus Christ are posting pornography or soft porn or profanity. Or reposting stuff that's profane, and I see that, and I go, I want to wring his neck. You know, who are you representing? And God has been working on me. He's like, hey, better chill there, because first of all, I haven't given you any instruction to correct that guy,
right?
And you haven't even asked me if you should, because I can do that. It's like I'm going to be the guy that cuts off the ear of the Roman soldier, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, Jesus is just gonna he's just gonna put it back on, you know. And so then I have this thing that I get so infuriated when I see believers posting pictures of themselves with beer growlers and Bible studies with 6 bottles of wine sitting on the table, and I'm like, really? But you know what? Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
You know,
he's working on you too.
He's
at that
working on me too.
Same moment, he's working on you.
Absolutely, he is, and it's like it's like the Lord is saying, "Hey, listen, do you trust me or not? I'm working on these guys."
Right. Exactly. It's all a trust exercise.
You know,
all of it.
And you just chill, man.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't hold each other accountable for things like that, but. If our motive is because we're ticked off, and it's not a holy spiritual motive because I want the best for you, we probably got to keep our mouth shut.
Yeah. Well, it says that it's grievous to the spirit to see that kind of stuff and to be a part of that kind of stuff. So it's natural that you're going to get offended. You know what I mean? I realize it's natural that I'm going to get offended by it, and repulsing. You know, like Richie would always say, it's repulsive. That stuff is repulsive, and so you're repulsed by it, and you're like, oh. You know what I mean? But it's like, that's the Holy Spirit in me.
Yeah, and you know what? My sponsor used to tell me, you're either doing it, or you've done it, you're doing it, or you're eligible to do it. So be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, good stuff, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ashley, thank you for coming for moral support. Yeah, that's been great. Great. Thank you. And yeah, right on. I'm just so stinking proud of both of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monty.
I value our friendship deeply, and
same. Ditto.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Our closing song. This is an old song. This is back in the 70s. It's by a group called Doug and Donna, and this was a musical team back when I was in Bible college at San Jose Bible College. Now Jessup University,
California.
San Jose, our old stomping grounds. Yeah, Santa Cruz. Yeah. I used to drive cab from San Jose to Santa Cruz.
Yeah, that's a heck of a drive over Highway 17, man.
Yeah,
I rolled a truck on that highway.
I almost rolled a cab.
way.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
$250,000 later.
Wow.
Insurance company, a girl got injured.
I think, yeah. Do you remember a guy named Road Ranger? He'd go up and he had an El Camino. He'd go up and down that highway.
What color was the El Camino?
I don't know. It was like white with a gold stripe. It said Road Ranger on it with a yellow light on top. He'd help people that were broken down.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Actually.
And
Yeah.
he wouldn't charge them anything. He'd
Yeah.
just help them when they broke down. Because everybody's breaking down on that road, Blood Alley or whatever they call that thing.
Yes.
You know.
Highway 17 is the most dangerous corridor. Like that.
Jeez.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this song is based on John 15. I am the true vine. And it's entitled Abide in Me. Listen to the words to this. I think this is very appropriate for continuing on being a maximum service to God and the people he puts in our lives. Here is Doug and Donna with Abide in Me.
From nothing to being healthy and growing. What's the secret in continuing to bear fruit for the world to see? These words he spoke to me. Abide in me, and I in you. Just as the branch does not bear fruit of itself, your lives must be renewed by the vine. Abide in me, abide in me, abide in me, and I in you. No single branch has any witness in hand says they have no chances to make it on their own. Death is being alone. Abide in me, and I in you. Just as the branch does not bear fruit
Abide in Me, the music of Doug and Donna. Special thank you to my guests this week, Jarren and Collin and Ashley. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty Man, along with the rest of the Take 12 Recovery Radio family, and we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
This is the place.
Kitty, 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 kitty. Meow, meow, meow.
Woof, woof.